Hey, how are you doing today? I hope you're doing well. It's been a very long time since I've uploaded one of these sort of book review videos. I know it's been just as long since I've uploaded anything, but doesn't matter. It's my channel. I did finally get to reading the book that I had mentioned in my previous video. You know, a bunch of stuff came up between school, university, work, social life. I essentially just put the book down and never picked it back up, but I finally did. It was Stephen King's, I know this is probably backwards, so get a mirror if you want to read the title. Stephen King's The Outsider. It's a 550-page novel. If I tallied up all the time that I was actually sat down and reading the book, I would say it took me around between 6 to 7 hours to read. It's not a difficult book. And Stephen King doesn't really have the most eloquent of writing styles. It does have a little bit of personality in it, but I've never really read any of his books. I've mostly watched the films, It and 1924, which obviously don't convey that sort of style that he has, as well as, his actual literature. So, like I said, about 6-7 hours it took me to read. If you want to, divvy that up by page, I guess it took me like a couple minutes a page. No, not that much. Maybe about a minute a page. But anyway, doesn't matter. It's not a race. So this book revolves around the murder of a little boy, Frankie Peterson, and the foremost suspect in the case, Terry Maitland. It's, of course, a Stephen King book, so obviously it's horror, obviously it's a mystery. I think that's pretty much trivial when it comes to Stephen King writing. It is a detective novel in a sense. It mostly tells the story from the perspective of Detective Ralph Anderson, sort of one of the officers or the detective who's in charge of the case, or is partially in charge of the case. It's him and another guy, and I actually read this book, or finished reading this book, about a month ago, so I don't remember all the details. If I were to rate it, I'd give it maybe a 7, maybe an 8. Horror is relatively interesting to me. I prefer the sort of dystopian novel, but horror, the art of the unknown, it definitely keeps my interest. But if you're not into the sort of murder mystery novel, you're not going to enjoy this too much. It does have that sort of Stephen King personality to it, or what I understand as the Stephen King personality. So it is sort of drawn out in a lot of sections. Some things get more focus than I really thought needed focus. But I guess that is, in a sense, part of building the tension. There is sort of a good ending. They figure out, and spoilers for the next couple minutes if you're ever going to read this book, they find out who the real killer is, or was, I should say. It's sort of this amorphous, supernatural being that has that sort of mirrors certain old Mexican superstitions. So yeah, I guess it falls into the sort of regular Stephen King book. I really hate to say it like that. I don't want to say that Stephen King has been typecast, but if you've ever watched any of the films or have started comparing it to his literature, it really is another Stephen King book. It is apparently a New York Times bestseller, whatever the hell that means. I think every single book I've ever read is a New York Times bestseller, a #1 New York Times bestseller, so maybe I'm just reading the wrong kind of book. But anyway, I would give it a decent rating, 8 out of 10. It's not bad. If you're not into the murder mystery sort of thing, you're not going to enjoy it, just on a base level. But if you are into that sort of thing, and especially if you are a Stephen King fanboy, I think if you are a Stephen King fanboy, you're going to read this anyway. It definitely did hold my interest for all 6 to 7 hours of it. But yeah, I have a bunch of books that I read, and I'm actually working through H.P. Lovecraft's short stories, which I'm going to do like 2-minute reviews for each of those. I'm actually going to record like 2 or 3 of these in succession so I can kind of upload them once a week or something. But anyway, I am trying to read more. I said that in my first video a long time ago, but, you know, I'm a university student. There's only so much I can do. There's only so much knowledge I can take in at any given time. So I do sort of put the books down, or the entertainment books down during the school year, and pick up sort of more snacky things. If I get really bored, I might try to do a film review, but we'll see. Yeah, if you guys have any comments or questions about the books, if you want something a little more in-depth about the plot I could go through, feel free to ask. But other than that, have a great day.